dark side. The Vikram lander has now begun a historic journey to assess the lunar surface. Let's tell you the fine print of India's Chandrayaan 3 moon mission. At around 5:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, ISRO's control room was filled with scientists waiting for the landing operation to begin. And then, one after the other, the 4 different phases were completed. And then, the moment the clock struck 6:03 p.m. IST, ISRO confirmed the soft landing.
Sir, we have achieved soft landing on the moon. India is on the moon.
Let us all wait to hear from the Secretary Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, Shri S. Som.
ये पल अविस्मरणीय है, ये क्षण अभूतपूर्व है, ये क्षण विकसित भारत के शंखनाद का है, ये क्षण नए भारत के जयघोष का है.
ISRO scientists were overwhelmed with joy, especially because their last attempt of Chandrayaan-2 4 years ago ended with a setback. The spacecraft was less than 30 minutes away from the lunar surface when connection with the lander was lost. But ISRO has proved that the organization has entered the elite club of moon explorers. And if anything, it is the world that is now looking at ISRO for its technical knowledge.
Unintended help is very welcome, and we
have achieved
Chandrayaan 3 have been living. I want to tell you, and I want to thank you also for each and everyone who prayed with us in the last many days, who wanted this success to happen in ISRO. I thank all those people in all around the country and maybe beyond the country for their blessings and wishes and affection that he has given to each one of us for doing this work for the last so many years.
Living, sleeping, eating, breathing Chandrayaan for the last 4 years. They have been supported by unintended help is very welcome, and we
have achieved.
We're now being joined by our senior correspondent Siddharth MP from Bengaluru. He has been has been observing this from the start to the end. Siddharth MP, good to see you. I am sure the celebrations are still going on. You've managed to speak to some of the scientists there. What are they saying? What happens next?
So Eric, this is of course the beginning of a process. Chandrayaan 3, in fact, this entire mission had 4 vehicles, right? The first vehicle was the rocket. It was the LVM-3 rocket. It did its job on July 14th. Barely 16 minutes the rocket did its job. The next job was of the integrated spacecraft, which is the Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft, 3.9 tons mass. That spacecraft traveled for 40 days. And of course, not 40 days, but a little less than that, 35 days. And after that, the spacecraft sort of broke away into 2 pieces as planned. So one was a propulsion module, the other was a lander module. So propulsion module's job is done. The third is a lander module. Lander did its job today flawlessly. Lander landed on the lunar surface. So 3 vehicles so far have done their job. There's only one final vehicle left to do its job. And that will happen in a while from now, perhaps in minutes from now. What is expected is the lunar dust will settle. And thereafter, the ramp from the belly of the Vikram lander opens up, and from there the 6-wheeled rover, 26 kilos only in weight, but of course huge expectations on it, huge responsibility on that rover, which is known as Pragyan. So Pragyan will roll out and Pragyan will traverse the lunar surface, and that will be the moment when, you know, the cameras capture each other. So the lander will be captured by the rover and vice versa. This will be that historic moment where we have, as a country, as India as a country, has 2 operational vehicles on the surface of the moon. This is not something every country in the world can claim. Very few have this technology, very few have the means. India, of course, we have to remember, is just the 4th nation to do a lunar soft landing. 200 approximately countries in the world, only 4 have the wherewithal to execute this. ISRO has executed this. This goes on to show the scientific prowess and technology of India. This goes on to show that, the milestones for ISRO are yet to come. This is one of them, a most significant one in their journey so far. But in the coming years, more big missions coming up, Eric.
Siddharth MP, this is indeed a historical moment, not only for India, but as the Prime Minister of India did say, that this is a historical moment for humanity. There were so many young faces in that arena who were observing this mission. Did you manage to speak to them, and what are they saying they've learned from this mission and from ISRO?
So yes, ISRO of course is an agency with space agency with more than 20,000 personnel working in their roles. So we have to remember that this of course is an organization with experts from different fields, from different domains, all of them working together. So we had an opportunity to speak to some of the directors, the senior most officials in ISRO's hierarchy. So all of them exuded confidence, and they were giving complete credit to their team, because it is only team effort that can execute a mission that is so complex, and every team has to ensure that each and every one of their system built. For example, there are chemical fuels on board, there are hardwares on board, there are tanks on board, there are electronics on board, there are communications equipment on board. All of them are from different domains, but they have only one job: work together, work in harmony, work in unison, execute the landing. So this shows teamwork. And of course, about the young faces you were mentioning, it's not just within the mission operations complex here at ISTRAC Bengaluru. I'm sure crores of people from across the world, young people, old people, everyone was witnessing this mission, or perhaps sooner or later they will witness this on their streaming platforms or on YouTube or so on, and they will get a glimpse of what this mission means, because as the Prime Minister was saying, this of course inspires the world. So, there's a lot of turmoil in the world, there's conflict going on, there's a lot of things that are happening, but at the same time, this is something that gives hope to billions of people about the achievements of science and technology when used in the right manner. In fact, space is known as dual-use technology because, certain very sophisticated weapons and missiles are similar to space technology. In fact, it is a very widely accepted fact. But when space technology in its original format is used, this is the impact that it can have on the world. This is an example for nations, budding nations as well, because India is not a standalone space power. India has helped dozens and dozens of nations, develop their own space program. India launches, satellites from neighboring countries, from friendly foreign countries. Some of them are done for free. Some of them are done on a commercial basis. But India also has the real intent to help so many countries. To give you some very recent examples, India has, started talks with Oman. India has started talks with Mauritius. So there are plans to build satellites for them. There are plans to help them, map their respective nations. There are plans to share satellite data with them. This is why the global impact of space technology is something that the Prime Minister emphasized. Because look, when you look at an end-to-end space program, very few countries have the capability to do it all. There are some of them that have 1 or 2 capabilities. India has it all, right? So that's where India stands tall, Eric.
Well, this is our correspondent Siddharth MP talking to us about this great feat for India, and he has been actually observing this from the start to the end. But before I let you go, I just have one very quick question to you. This is our correspondent Siddharth MP. Just before I let you go, I just want to know from you, how does this feel?
So Eric, this is a feeling like no other. So personally and professionally, so it's not every time in your career that you get an opportunity to witness history being made at such a large scale. So this is something that is a great opportunity for journalists as well. This is a great opportunity to tell the world about what India has done, because I've also visited the Indian spaceport, and Beyond has reported extensively about the Indian spaceport and the starting of the Indian space program at Trivandrum, at a small fishing hamlet in Tumba. So it was a small fishing hamlet in Tumba. I'm sure, Eric, you know that rocket parts and satellites were carried on bicycles and they were carried on bullock carts. That was the start of ISRO in the 1960s. It began as a small project, just about a handful of people, just a few dozen people. They didn't know what to do. They were just doing experiments with a larger goal in mind, that someday in the future, the Indian space program will take their work to greater heights. None of them from that era are alive today. Barely very few of them are here to witness this. But I'm sure a lot of them, including the founding father of the Indian space program, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, are metaphorically watching this moment unfold because the lander that has touched down on the moon is named as a tribute after him. It is the Vikram lander. It's a tribute to Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the founder of the program. So let me give you one additional trivia. So when scientists and other people asked Dr. Sarabhai in the early 60s as to why do you want to spend so much government money on the space program, Dr. Sarabhai, a top industrialist and one of the leading lights in India at that time, just replied that I pay 4 crores rupees in income tax. This is in the 1960s. It's billions of rupees today. So I pay 4 crores in income tax. So just assume that it is my money paid as taxes that is being used for the Indian space program. So that's the kind of love he had for what he was doing. And that's what the Indian space program is returning today, more than 65 years later, Eric.
Well, thank you very much for all that information and for all your insights. Siddharth MP, our correspondent in Bengaluru.